Welcome once again to Mark Maths. In this video, we are going to introduce the concept of probability. But before we do that, I want us to look at the definition of the following key terms under probability. One of the key terms under probability is experiment. An experiment under probability, what it means is that it is any activity whose outcome can't be predicted with certainty. Any activity whose outcome cannot be predicted with certainty. Now you cannot tell the exact outcome of the activity. If the activity's outcome cannot be guessed or cannot be predicted with certainty, then it is called an experiment. It is called an experiment. Example, throwing a die once. If you throw a die once, you cannot actually tell the number on the die that will appear. You can't tell. 1 may appear, 2 may appear, 3 may appear, 6 may appear, but you cannot tell exactly which of the numbers that will appear. And so throwing a die once is an example of an experiment under probability. Now, if you perform this activity once, it is called a trial. It is called a trial. Now, because you cannot tell the outcome of an experiment with certainty, and we have given an example, like throwing a die once. We all know that on the die, the numbers on the die ranges from 1 to 6. And so if we actually write the numbers on the die, starting from the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, we write it as a set. This way. Then these outcomes or possible outcomes that we may get, that is, if we throw a die once, is called sample space. It's called what? Sample space. We call it sample space. Sample space. Which is usually denoted with capital X. And so throwing a die once, because you cannot actually tell the exact outcome for throwing a die once, but you know that on the die, the numbers on the die start from 1 to 6, or ranges from 1 to 6. And so any of these numbers can appear if we decide to throw the die once. And so listing the numbers on the die as the possible outcome for throwing that die once is called sample space. So the set of all the possible outcomes for throwing a die once will start from 1 to 6. And so this set is called a sample space. Now, each of these elements that we see in the sample space, that is in the sample space for throwing a die once, is called sample point. It's called sample point. So 1 here is a sample point, 2 is a sample point, 3 is a sample point, 4 is a sample point, 5 is a sample point, 6 is a sample point. Now, if we decide to select the numbers from the set of sample space here, we decide to select the numbers from the set of sample space here, without scheming to actually select a particular number, or let's say we want to throw a particular number, We do not scheme to throw a particular number. Then we call that random sampling. Random sampling. That is, if we select numbers from this set without being biased, then we call that random sampling. Random sampling. So at this point, we will stop here. We expect you to subscribe, share, like, and leave your comment at the comment section to make